Hi, I'm Todd Jones, host of the podcast Press Box Access. Here's a clip from my interview with Tim Kurkjian. Tim recalls the 1988 Baltimore Orioles, beginning the season 0-21.
Several times I covered 162 games a year. And we once had the teams I covered, Todd, were terrible, too, for the most part.
Right.
Sheldon Knocker, who covered the Indians all those years, he and I had a debate who wrote the most losing game stories in the 80s, me or him. And he looked at me and he goes, Tim, hey, not even close. I had the Indians the whole decade. I actually did the math once. He was right, but I wasn't far behind in writing a bunch of losing game stories.
Well, you had a couple teams there. I looked it up. You had Rangers teams that had losses of 92 and 98. You had the Orioles who had losses of 89, 95, and 107.
Todd, the 107 season, as you remember, they started out losing their first 21 games.
Right, 1988.
Right. The record was 0-14, and they blew past that and just kept going.
They were like Bob Beamon in Mexico City. They just leaped right past it.
They completely lapped. It was unbelievable. It was so bad. Fortunately, we had Frank Robinson, who took over at 0-6 when Cal Ripken Sr. was fired in a terrible manner, by the way. So Frank takes over, and he's hilariously funny. He's freaking Frank Robinson. He's got the greatest stories ever. So after loss number 18, I want to say, he takes the writers on an off day out to dinner in Minneapolis. This had never happened before or after. He took us out to dinner. I think he just needed some support, or I think he just wanted to get away from his team and his coaches. So about halfway through the night, again, pre-internet, all that, I say to Frank, and it's Richard Justice, Ken Rosenthal, and myself. We're out to dinner with Frank. And halfway through dinner, I say to Frank, has anyone interesting called you during this losing streak? And he said, yeah, the president called me today. So Frank was always a big kidder, so I thought he was BSing us. So I pressed him 3 times on it. I said, Frank, be serious. Finally, he looked at me and he said, God damn it, the President of the United States called me today. I said, Frank, what did he say? He said, Frank, I know what you're going through. And Frank said, Mr. President, you got no idea what I'm going through. So the 3 beat guys, you can appreciate this, Todd. We went running to the payphones at the restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Called in this beautiful, bright box that went on the front page of all of our newspapers that the beleaguered manager of the Orioles had received a call from the President of the United States. So that was as bad as it gets for a beat writer. I mean, Terry Kennedy told me after 14 games, he said something like, a high school team couldn't lose 14 games in a row. And then it extended to 21. And then they won a game, and then they lost 2 more, and they went home now 1-23. And we're thinking, oh, my God, they're 1-23, and we got 140 games to go.
Right.
How are we going to get through this? But we did. And as we know, Todd, the lesson is cover a really good team or cover a really bad team, because it's the ones in the middle you're not sure what to do with. But it's unfortunately, it's very easy to write when you're covering a historically bad team.
Well, that team, that year was so bad for that team that even the team owner died in August.
Yeah,
Edward Bennett Williams passed away. So, I mean, you just had endless news going on despite the fact that they were losing so much.